Maggie was a spirited 14-year-old girl living in a small, worn-down farmhouse in Texas. The land around her was parched, and the sun beat down mercilessly, mirroring the hardships her family faced. Her stepfather, struggling as a farmer, often went without food to provide for his own needs. Maggie dreamed of brighter days filled with laughter and adventure, a life far from the shadow of poverty. She found solace in books, imagining herself as a brave explorer or a skilled artist. Yet, each day brought new worries. Tears sometimes filled her eyes when she overheard her stepfather muttering about desperate choices. There were moments of warmth when he would smile at her, but there was also a looming darkness as their situation grew desperate. Despite this, Maggie held on to hope, believing that one day things would change for the better for her and for those she loved. As summer wore on, the relentless heat took its toll on the land, and the farmer's situation grew increasingly desperate. Crops failed, and his savings dwindled to nothing, leaving him with empty pockets and a gnawing hunger. Each day felt like a battle against the unforgiving elements, and he could see the toll it took on Maggie, whose bright spirit began to dim under the weight of their struggles. One evening, after a particularly disheartening trip to the market where he sold what little they had left, he faced an unbearable choice. Knowing that food was scarce and that Maggie's future was at stake, he reluctantly agreed to sell her to a trader who promised to provide enough supplies for survival. The decision crushed his heart, did not want to part with her, yet desperation clouded his judgment as he believed this was the only way to ensure she wouldn't starve. The morning sun rose dimly over the dry fields as Maggie stood outside her home, a small leather bag clutched tightly in her hands. Her heart raced with fear as she watched the trader approach, feeling an overwhelming sense of sadness wash over her. She took one last look at the farmhouse, the worn porch where she had spent countless hours dreaming of adventures. As she turned to follow the trader, tears stung her eyes. Each step felt heavier than the last, and the familiar sounds of home faded into silence. The thought of leaving her stepfather behind gnawed at her heart. A mixture of confusion and betrayal swirled within her. Would he truly believe this was for the best? With every turn on the dusty road, Maggie felt more lost, longing for the comfort of her books and the laughter that had once filled their small home. The journey ahead loomed like an endless shadow. As Maggie's journey began, a powerful figure watched from a distance. Lone Hawk, a respected Comanche chief known for his wisdom and kindness. With his long hair flowing like the river that meandered through his homeland, he had seen the beauty and suffering of his people. Honoring the land and its stories, Lone Hawk held a strong belief in justice, often advocating for those oppressed or marginalized. He understood the struggles faced by both settlers and Native Americans, but was committed to bridging that divide with understanding and compassion. Today, he sensed an injustice unfolding before him as he caught sight of the trader leading Maggie away. His heart stirred with empathy for the frightened girl. Driven by a strong moral compass, Lone Hawk knew he could not stand idly by while she was taken from everything she knew. Resolute and brave, he prepared to intervene, ready to risk everything for a stranger in need. As the sun began to dip low in the sky, casting long shadows across the dusty road, Lone Hawk made his move. He approached swiftly, riding on his powerful steed, his presence commanding and fierce. The trader, unaware of the approaching danger, continued leading Maggie away from her home. With a firm voice that echoed across the silence of the plains, Lone Hawk called out to the group, demanding they halt immediately. The sound of his voice startled both Maggie and the trader. She looked up in surprise as he dismounted gracefully, eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that gave her hope. "Release her," he ordered, standing tall and unyielding. His stance spoke of bravery and determination as he faced the trader, ready to defend Maggie against any threat. Tension hung in the air as he prepared to confront not only the trader but also the consequences of challenging those who sought to exploit her. As Lone Hawk stood before the trader, a whirlwind of thoughts raced through his mind. He felt a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that by intervening, He was challenging not only the trader, but also the fragile peace between his tribe and the settlers. What would happen if his actions provoked anger from those who might see him as an enemy? Would his own people turn against him for siding with a stranger? Yet, as he looked at Maggie's frightened eyes, he also felt a fierce protectiveness rise within him. The injustice of her situation ignited a fire in his heart that overshadowed his fears. Lone Hawk grappled with his commitment to justice and the risk of igniting conflict. In that moment, he understood that true bravery often meant standing up for what was right, even when it could lead to dangerous consequences. He resolved to protect her, no matter the cost. During this turbulent time in Texas, tensions ran high between settlers and Native Americans, each group burdened by misunderstandings and deep-rooted prejudices. Settlers often viewed Native Americans as obstacles to their expansion, believing that they were resistant to change and uncivilized. This perspective fueled fear and hostility, causing settlers to disregard the rich cultures and histories that the indigenous peoples embraced. On the other hand, Native Americans like Lone Hawk saw settlers as invaders, threatening their way of life, encroaching upon sacred lands and traditions. This led to mistrust and a desire to protect their people from further harm. Each group held onto stereotypes and misconceptions that heightened conflicts and prevented meaningful dialogue. In this fraught atmosphere, Lone Hawk's actions became more than just an act of bravery. They represented a possibility for understanding and empathy across cultural divides. He hoped his choice would challenge established beliefs on both sides, fostering a new path forward. As Lone Hawk stood before the trader, a surge of determination coursed through him. He understood the potential fallout of his decision to protect Maggie. His own tribe might see him as a traitor for interfering with the settlers, while the settlers could retaliate against his people out of anger. Yet, the image of Maggie's frightened face ignited a fire within him, reminding him of the countless injustices faced by those who were vulnerable. With each heartbeat, Lone Hawk felt the weight of his choice. He could either turn back and preserve his own safety, or embrace empathy and justice, standing up for a girl who had no one else. The choice was clear to him. He would not let fear dictate his actions. Lone Hawk resolved that by defending Maggie, he was not only fighting for her freedom, but also setting an example of compassion that could bridge the divide between their worlds. As they began their journey together, Lone Hawk sensed Maggie's fear and uncertainty. Understanding how fragile trust could be, he took his time, speaking gently and showing her the warmth of his heart. He shared stories of his youth, of how he learned to respect nature and honor his people's traditions, creating a connection that made her feel less alone in this strange new world. To reassure her further, he demonstrated useful skills, such as how to find fresh water or identify safe plants for food, empowering her with knowledge. Each small victory they experienced together gradually melted the ice of her distrust. Maggie watched as Lone Hawk treated others with kindness and fairness, even when it would have been easier to act out of anger or fear. With every step, she began to see him not just as a protector but as a friend, someone who genuinely cared for her well-being amidst the chaos around them. As Lone Hawk and Maggie traveled deeper into the wild, they faced numerous challenges that tested their teamwork and resilience. One evening, while setting up camp, they heard rustling in the bushes. Suddenly, a wild boar charged at them, its tusks gleaming in the fading light. Lone Hawk quickly positioned himself between Maggie and the animal, using his spear to scare it away. Later, as they crossed a rocky terrain, the ground shifted beneath Maggie's feet, causing her to stumble. With quick reflexes, Lone Hawk caught her just in time, showing her the importance of balance and focus while navigating difficult paths. They also encountered hostile settlers who eyed them with suspicion, forcing them to hide until it was safe to move on. Through each encounter, Maggie learned to rely on Lone Hawk's guidance, and together they grew stronger and more united against the challenges of their journey. When they finally arrived at Lone Hawk's tribe, Maggie felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The community welcomed them with open arms, eager to meet the girl who had been rescued. As they entered the camp, the scent of smoke from cooking fires filled the air, and laughter echoed among the children playing nearby. Lone Hawk introduced Maggie to the elders, who greeted her with kind smiles and gentle words. As days passed, she learned their customs and traditions, participating in communal activities like gathering food and crafting. The tribe's warmth helped ease her fear, as she found comfort in their sense of community. Maggie began to embrace her new life, sharing stories of her past while listening to the tales of the tribe. With each passing day, she realized that this place offered not just safety, but also a chance for a fresh starter community, rooted in kindness and acceptance that she could now call home. Lone Hawk's journey to protect Maggie encapsulates the essence of unexpected heroism and cultural empathy. His decision to stand against injustice, even at great personal risk, highlights a profound moral courage that transcends societal divisions. By choosing to defend a girl from a different background and culture, Lone Hawk challenges the preconceived notions that often breed animosity between settlers and Native Americans. His actions become a beacon of hope, illustrating that true heroism is not just about physical bravery, but also about compassion and understanding. Through his selfless commitment, he teaches those around him, including Maggie, the importance of helping others in need, regardless of their origins. In a world rife with conflict and misunderstanding, Lone Hawk's story serves as a reminder that empathy can forge connections and inspire those to rise above prejudice, allowing for a more harmonious coexistence rooted in respect and kindness. Maggie's journey with Lone Hawk ultimately leads her to a new beginning, filled with hope and opportunity. As she settles into the tribe, her initial fears transform into confidence, allowing her to blossom in the warmth of her newfound community. She finds joy in learning their traditions and sharing her own stories, which fosters deeper connections with those around her. With each passing day, Maggie discovers that she is not just surviving but thriving, building a life that once seemed impossible. Her experiences have taught her resilience, and she embraces her role within the tribe, contributing to the communal efforts while nurturing friendships with other children. Through Lone Hawk's example of bravery and empathy, Maggie learns the value of standing up for what is right. In this vibrant new world, she begins to understand that change is possible and that hope can flourish even in the most challenging circumstances, symbolizing a brighter future ahead.